The reason I built this tool is because I've been thinking about COVID-19 and state policies and reopenings, and I wanted to make a visual to illustrate my thinking. Each of the activities on the left has both value and risk. For example, we need food to survive. So even if the risk is great, we need agriculture and we need grocery stores. We all agree we want the whole thing to go away, everything to go back to normal. We all agree that if we have to remove things from our lives, we should try to balance that risk against the value. We want as much value as possible for as little risk as possible. When we look at things this way, as a risk to value proposition, a lot of things fall into place. For example, why do people get upset about masks? Well, because masks are low risk, but in theory they have a compressing effect on all of the rest of the risk. And I want to make a note that we don't know exactly how effective masks are, but the ballpark numbers I've seen are that masks reduce the risk of transmission from somewhere between 30% and 60%. So if enough people wear their masks religiously, we can do more things with less risk. Masks themselves are pretty low risk, but potentially they provide a lot of value by compressing the rest of the risk. With masks, we can do more things. I'm going to bottom masks out just for the sake of the visuals. Some people want more than anything to go to church, or watch a baseball game, or go to the gym, or maybe go out to eat. We can't do all those things right now. The risks are just too high. We have to pick the ones that we think are the most important. It's a balancing act. Sometimes, if there's an activity that we think has great value, we want to make the risks look small so that we can justify it into the value column. And that's where we are with protests. People in favor of protests think that they have a lot of value. To this end, they're looking for any excuse to downplay the risks of protesting, to the point where some people have made the case that it's essentially a risk-free activity. Well, that's not true. Putting a large group of people together raises the risk of transmission almost by definition. There is risk involved. The real question is it worth it? But a lot of people look at the risks and they don't see value. I've encoded into the risk and value column a second perspective. And it's one that views protests as a much riskier, much lower value proposition. What these people see is they see the risk bucket going up and the value bucket not going up very much. As the risk bucket goes up, the protests are crowding out the ability to include things that other people very much value. In essence, it means that protests are taking up the risk that could be spent on other activities. There's enormous disagreement on what value these activities have, and most importantly, who gets to decide which activities are worth what risk. I like this risk to value concept because it helps me understand people better and understand that in the end, the discussion is about doing things that are important while we try to stay as safe as we can. We might not agree on the risks or the values, but we all do agree that we want the best possible life for everyone with the least risk possible.